Yeah, you know who you watching. You watching Dilly on the DillyOT2K.com YouTube channel. Make sure you come through and check that out. Check out my loops and samples on that website today. I want to talk about a synthesizer that came out from Behringer. It's been out for a while, but I didn't really talk about it that much, and I definitely want to recognize it today because Behringer has been flooding the game with synthesizers from a TB303 to a RD9, which I do have, and the Model D. I think that was a home run, that Model D. That was definitely a cool synthesizer right there, because I still don't know if I would drop $4,000 or $5,000 for a new Model D from Moog. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little frustrated with Moog because I wanted to get my Sub 37 repaired, and it didn't get repaired because I can't get in touch with anybody from customer support over there. And I'm wondering, is it because of them maybe being in a transition with in music brands? Recently of news that Moog was sold or bought by in music brands, and now they're under that umbrella. And I'm frustrated because I did get in touch with them. Well, that's a side note, but let's talk about this keyboard right here. This keyboard has 16 voices of full analog synthesizer, voices, all that good stuff, 2 VCOs per voice, 2 LFOs, selectable filters. And the interesting thing about this keyboard is that the OB-6, Oberheim-6, its cost is $34, or for a short saying, $3,500. And I get that most high-end equipment does cost that much. I don't know anything about the quality of the build, which compares to the OB-XA, which would cost about $1,200. Now, this is all based upon that classic Oberheim synth. It's been used in a lot of countless records. And of course, if you want to buy one from the used market, to me, it almost seems like the used market of Oberheims is just about the cost of a new one. And who am I to say what they should charge for their prices? But in my opinion, I think it's more or less on the expensive side. Now, the OB-XA from Behringer does come with standard MIDI, USB, your standard in and outs with the quarter-inch outputs, stuff like that. And, I'm very interested on how it feels to play. I've seen demos on it, but and it sounds good. It sounds really good. I think that it's going to be a nice keyboard to get a hold of. I think it's an affordable price for a 6-voice synthesizer. Of course, I'm the type of person to try to combine it with some pedals to see what it does, because any analog synthesizer sounds good. Analog synthesizers sound good by themselves, but when you combine them with other effects, then it takes off. Like, I'm even curious about getting a chorus plugin. I'm sorry, a chorus, and I'm probably saying this right, a chorus pedal to add to certain analog synthesizers that I have that don't have those sounds that come with it. You're going to get new possibilities and new sounds out of that. And I'm very curious about how that sounds, but I think it's a pretty cool keyboard. Also, I think a good reason to get this keyboard, or who I think should get this keyboard, is someone who doesn't have a polyphonic analog synthesizer already, who wants to get into that, someone who wants to learn about sound design, someone who wants to kind of create those vintage sounding kind of tracks or music. I think it's cool. It's kind of frustrating because Behringer does have a DeepMind 12, which kind of gets into the realm of the Juno world, but they didn't quite nail it. But this is more or less an exact replica of what we had before with the Oberheim classic synthesizers. So if you're looking for that type of sound, just to have something new in your collection, I think it's a good idea. If you like to work in the box and you want to explore with some more physical synthesizer opportunities, I think that's good. Now, because I work with different synthesizers, OB-XA does sound good, but if I were to compare it to another polyphonic synthesizer, it would be the Hydrasynth. Right now, to my knowledge at this point, the Hydrasynth is hands down a very nice digital synthesizer, but it sounds analog. There are settings in there where you can make it sound analog. And if you had to choose between the two, I will probably choose the Hydrasynth because you do get effects. You got a lot of LFOs, a lot of flexibility up in there. In my opinion, the keyboard itself isn't as easy on the eyes, but I can understand the value of having less. Sometimes less is more when you're creative. It's almost an apple and orange scenes, and maybe I'm stretching a little bit to compare the two. But I have this final prediction. I think that Akai will come out with a plug-in version that will go on standalone and the software. And you know I'm a Akai user of an Oberheim. They've done a Model D. They've done an Odyssey. They've done a Juno style, which I hope they do better with that, because it does sound like a Juno, but it doesn't sound great to me. But it's there. So they've been doing like kind of plugins of actual classic synthesizers, and in my opinion, and I don't have any inside lines on this, but I think that the Oberheim plugin for the Akai would be next. That's just a prediction. I'm not basing that on any rumor. It just seems like the pattern that they're going with that. Let me know what you think about the Behringer OB-XA. Is this something you want to cop, or do you think there are better options out there in the marketplace? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you check out DeLeoT2K.com.